Most of what we learn about love comes from the stories we're told, not from the realities we live. From childhood fairy tales to rom-com fantasies, we're conditioned to believe that love should be effortless, that conflict means failure, and that the right person will magically fix everything broken within us. But here's the truth: real relationships are far more complex, far more demanding, and far more rewarding than those surface level scripts. And if no one's ever told you what actually sustains a healthy relationship in the long run, then consider this your wake-up call. Today, we're going to break down the 6 essential truths that no one talks about, truths that may feel uncomfortable, but will ultimately set you up for something deeper, healthier, and far more real than any romance you've seen on screen. Let's begin. We often grow up believing that love is the most important ingredient in a successful relationship. Movies, songs, and stories condition us to think that as long as we love each other, everything else will fall into place. But this belief, while romantic, is fundamentally flawed, and it's one of the most common reasons relationships fail. Love is powerful. Yes, it connects us, it inspires vulnerability, it sparks intimacy, but love alone is not a sufficient foundation for a lasting partnership. Compatibility is what makes love sustainable. Here's the hard truth: you can love someone deeply and still be fundamentally incompatible with them. You can share an emotional bond, feel intense chemistry, and still struggle to align your lives. Values, communication styles, emotional needs, life goals, and conflict resolution patterns. These are the elements that define long-term compatibility. Without them, even the strongest emotional connection will begin to erode. Passion might carry you through the first few months or even a few years, but eventually your relationship will have to navigate real-life challenges, career changes, finances, family, health, and personal growth. And when those moments come, love without alignment simply isn't enough. Being in love doesn't mean you know how to build a life together. That requires shared direction. It means asking hard questions early. Do we want the same kind of future? Do we communicate in ways that are healthy and supportive? Can we navigate disagreements without resorting to blame or withdrawal? Can we respect each other's boundaries and honor each other's growth? These are the questions that reveal whether you're building something sustainable or just riding an emotional high. And let's be honest, many people ignore compatibility because love feels so good. It's easy to assume that the emotional intensity you're feeling is a sign that this person is the one. But emotional intensity is not the same as relational health. In fact, some of the most intense connections occur in the most dysfunctional dynamics. That doesn't mean your love isn't real. It just means that love needs structure to thrive. It needs clarity, alignment, and mutual understanding. If you want a relationship that doesn't just feel good but actually works, then you need to prioritize compatibility over chemistry. You need to stop asking, how much do I love this person? And start asking, can we actually build a life together that supports both of us? That shift from emotion to intention is what separates fantasy from reality and dysfunction from maturity. So yes, love matters, but love without compatibility is like a car without wheels. It looks beautiful, but it won't take you anywhere. Focus on the foundation, not just the feeling, because it's not the butterflies that carry you through the years. It's the shared vision, the mutual respect, and the day-to-day alignment that make love last. One of the most misleading and emotionally damaging ideas we've inherited from popular culture is the belief that a romantic partner is supposed to complete us. This narrative, though poetic, fosters emotional dependency rather than emotional maturity. The notion that someone out there will fix what's broken within you or fill every void in your heart sets the stage for unrealistic expectations and inevitable disappointment. No one, not even the most loving, committed partner, can complete a person who has not begun the journey of self-completion. The truth is, healthy relationships are not made of two halves seeking wholeness. They are made of two individuals who have already cultivated a strong sense of self. They know who they are, what they value, and what they need. They're not looking for someone to rescue them from loneliness, insecurity, or unhealed wounds. They're looking for someone to grow with, not to lean on for their entire sense of identity. When you enter a relationship expecting your partner to heal your past, validate your worth, or constantly meet your unmet emotional needs, you place a burden on them that no human being can carry. Relationships cannot be sustained by emotional outsourcing. Over time, this leads to resentment, frustration, and emotional imbalance. Your partner begins to feel like a caretaker, a therapist, or a savior, and none of those roles are fair or sustainable within the framework of healthy intimacy. A truly fulfilling partnership begins with self-awareness. It starts when you take ownership of your emotional life, your happiness, your insecurities, your traumas, and your dreams. It means facing your own flaws, doing the work of healing, and committing to becoming someone who adds value to a relationship rather than extracting it for personal validation. When two emotionally whole people come together, their love is based not on need, but on choice. It's not about what you lack, it's about what you offer. It's important to understand that this doesn't mean you should be perfect before entering a relationship. Perfection is not the goal, self-responsibility is. A healthy partner will support you, encourage you, and grow with you, but they should never have to complete you. That job is yours. Emotional wholeness doesn't mean you don't need support. It means you don't depend on someone else's presence to feel like you're enough. So if you're waiting for the right person to come along and make you feel whole, pause and turn inward. Ask yourself whether you've done the inner work to show up as someone who can co-create a meaningful, balanced, and fulfilling relationship. Because in the end, love doesn't rescue, it reflects. It reveals who we are and challenges us to grow, but it cannot substitute for self-worth. You don't find completion in someone else. You discover it within yourself. And from that place of inner clarity, you're far more likely to attract a partner who complements you, not completes you. One of the most pervasive myths in modern relationships is the idea that if it's truly meant to be, it should be effortless. That love, when real, shouldn't involve conflict, disappointment, or pain. But real relationships, the kind that last and deepen over time, are not defined by the absence of hurt. They're defined by how we navigate it. If you expect love to shield you from pain, you will be consistently let down. Because even the healthiest relationships will involve moments of misunderstanding, emotional injury, and unmet expectations. The reality is that two people, no matter how emotionally intelligent or deeply connected, will sometimes let each other down. You will say the wrong thing. You'll forget something important. You'll misread a situation or react out of your own stress or insecurity. It happens not because you don't care, but because you're human, and so is your partner. What matters is not whether hurt occurs, but how you respond to it when it does. In emotionally mature relationships, hurt doesn't lead to stonewalling, passive aggression, or silent resentment. It leads to honest conversations, accountability, and repair. These couples don't pretend pain doesn't exist. They acknowledge it, take ownership of their role in it, and work together to rebuild trust. That's the real difference. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of repair. Unfortunately, many people walk away from relationships the moment things get uncomfortable. The moment their partner makes a mistake or fails to meet an unspoken need, they assume the relationship is broken. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the way we deal with discomfort. When two people are willing to stay, communicate, and learn from the difficult moments, something deeper begins to take shape. Intimacy is not built through perfection. It's built through repair. Think about it this way. If you've never been hurt in your relationship, you've probably never been fully honest. Vulnerability invites risk, and risk sometimes leads to pain. But it also creates the space for real connection, the kind that can't be faked or fast-tracked. The couples who grow stronger over time are not those who avoid conflict. They're the ones who engage with it constructively. They listen without defensiveness, speak without blame, and prioritize understanding over being right. It's time we normalize the idea that pain, when handled well, can be productive. It's not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it's a sign that something real is happening. You're being stretched. You're being invited to grow, not just as a partner, but as a person. So don't run from the hard moments. Lean into them. Use them as opportunities to deepen trust, to refine your communication, and to reaffirm your commitment. Because love isn't about never hurting each other. It's about building the strength to heal together. When people hear the word boundaries, they often associate it with walls, emotional barriers meant to push others away or protect ourselves from intimacy. But in reality, boundaries are not walls. They are the framework within which healthy, respectful, and enduring relationships are built. Boundaries are not about distance. They are about clarity. They define where you end and where another person begins, and they provide the space for mutual respect and emotional safety to grow. In romantic relationships, setting boundaries is often misunderstood as selfishness or detachment, but the opposite is true. Boundaries are a profound act of love toward yourself and toward your partner. They communicate, I care enough about this relationship to be honest with you about what I need. They prevent resentment, foster trust, and create a structure in which both individuals can thrive independently and together. Without clear boundaries, relationships become blurry and unstable. People begin to sacrifice their own needs, values, or identity in an attempt to keep the peace or maintain closeness. But love that requires you to abandon yourself is not love. It's emotional enmeshment. When we give up our boundaries to please or appease, we may create temporary harmony, but in the long term, we foster resentment and disconnection. Healthy boundaries protect emotional energy, clarify expectations, and enhance communication. They allow couples to say yes when they mean it and no without guilt. They encourage openness, not avoidance. And perhaps most importantly, they model emotional responsibility. When you set a boundary, you're not trying to control your partner's behavior. You're communicating what you will or will not tolerate for the sake of your own well-being. For example, a boundary might sound like, I'm happy to talk about this issue, but not when we're both yelling. Or, I need time to process before I can respond constructively. These statements are not ultimatums. They're invitations to build trust and safety. They're a way of saying, I want to stay in this relationship, but I need to do so in a way that honors both of us. Respecting each other's boundaries is equally important. If your partner expresses a need for space, time, or emotional support, honoring that boundary is a way of showing love, not rejection. Many people struggle with this because they mistake boundaries for rejection or abandonment. But a person with strong boundaries is actually more capable of sustaining closeness. Why? Because they are not loving from a place of obligation. They are loving from a place of choice. Ultimately, boundaries are not the end of intimacy. They are the beginning of it. They create the foundation for trust, autonomy, and mutual growth. When each partner feels safe to express their limits, to be heard, and to be respected, love deepens, not in spite of boundaries, but because of them. We live in a culture that idolizes attraction. From the very first spark, the adrenaline rush of eye contact, and the thrill of discovering shared interests, we're taught to chase the high of falling in love. But here's what often gets overlooked. While attraction is easy to find, consistency is what builds a relationship that lasts. The emotional charge of chemistry may light the match, but consistency is what keeps the flame alive. Attraction is often based on qualities that are instantly noticeable: appearance, charisma, charm, even status. These things are exciting. They grab your attention, stir your emotions, and make your heart race, but they don't tell you much about who a person really is when the novelty wears off. Attraction can pull two people together, but it cannot hold them together in the face of stress, disappointment, or emotional distance. What holds people together is character, reliability, emotional steadiness, that quiet strength that shows up every day, even when it's not convenient. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't generate the same dopamine rush that spontaneity or seduction does, but it is the mark of emotional maturity, and emotional maturity is the bedrock of a sustainable relationship. A consistent partner doesn't just tell you they love you, they show it through their actions. They make you feel safe, not just with words, but with follow through. They remember what matters to you. They're present during your bad days. They don't disappear when things get uncomfortable. They choose you again and again, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Unfortunately, many people confuse emotional excitement with emotional security. They chase unpredictable partners, interpreting inconsistency as passion. But unpredictability often masks emotional unavailability. Someone who runs hot and cold is not keeping things interesting. They are signaling instability, and the price of staying in that kind of dynamic is your peace. True intimacy is built in the small, repeated moments of showing up. It's built when your partner texts back when they say they will, when they make space for difficult conversations instead of avoiding them, when they respond with kindness even after a long day. These patterns of consistency send a powerful message. You can count on me. That doesn't mean a consistent partner is boring. It means they are dependable. They can be spontaneous, fun, and romantic, but they do so without compromising your emotional stability. Their love is not a performance. It's a daily choice, shown in actions, not just in feelings. So if you're looking for a partner who will truly support your growth, stop being dazzled by charm and start observing behavior. Ask yourself not just how they make you feel in the moment, but how they show up over time. Because in the end, the most attractive trait isn't mystery or intensity, it's emotional consistency. That's what builds safety, that's what builds trust, and that's what sustains love long after the butterflies have faded. One of the most common misconceptions in relationships is the belief that fulfillment is found by discovering the right person. We imagine that somewhere out there, a perfect match exists, someone who will align effortlessly with our values, complete our emotional needs, and make our lives whole. But the truth is more sobering and far more empowering. You don't find the right person. You become them. This mindset shift is crucial because when you view relationships through the lens of self-evolution rather than external discovery, everything changes. Instead of waiting for someone to bring stability, joy, or healing into your life, you begin cultivating those qualities within yourself. You become someone who attracts, not chases, emotional health. You start living with clarity, intentionality, and self-respect, which in turn influences the quality of partners you draw into your life. Too often, people enter relationships hoping to be rescued from loneliness, from past wounds, or from dissatisfaction with their current lives. But no partner, no matter how loving, can fill the void left by a lack of self-awareness or personal growth. When we depend on others to make us feel whole, we create a dynamic of dependency rather than mutual strength. That kind of relationship may feel intense at first, but it often leads to imbalance, insecurity, and emotional volatility over time. On the other hand, when two individuals who have done their inner work come together, the relationship becomes a space of co-creation rather than compensation. Instead of filling in each other's gaps, they amplify each other's growth. They are not looking for completion. They're offering connection. This dynamic fosters a much deeper kind of intimacy, one based on shared values, mutual respect, and a commitment to evolving together. So, what does it mean to become the right person? It means taking responsibility for your patterns, your wounds, and your emotional triggers. It means learning how to communicate clearly, listen empathetically, and set boundaries without guilt. It means developing emotional resilience, practicing accountability, and showing up for yourself with the same consistency and compassion you hope to receive from a partner. It also means asking yourself deeper questions. Am I living in alignment with my own values? Am I cultivating a life I'm proud of, even outside of a relationship? Am I offering the same kind of love and support that I desire from someone else? These are the foundations of becoming, not just a better partner, but a more grounded individual.